Okay, I just popped the crust into the oven, 350 degrees. And like I said, that's gonna be between, well, depending on your oven, between 10 and 20 minutes. I'm gonna check it at around 10 minutes to see if the sides are starting to crisp up a little bit or get just a little golden brown. You don't want it overly done because it's gonna cook even more in just a little while, but you just want it to set up is basically what you want to do. You want that butter to melt into the sugar and the flour and combine it into a nice good crust. Okay, so I used a springform pan. You can use a 9 by 12, 9 by 13, whatever, or you can use a springform pan like I did. Whatever you'd like to do, or if you don't have either and you have a regular cake pan, you can use that too. Whatever's going to work for you. If you don't have a springform pan, I would line it with some tin foil or parchment paper would work too. That's just to help you kind of peel it off at the end when you go to cut it and serve it to your guests or to your family, okay? So especially probably just pretty much your family right now because that's all who can visit you, right? Okay, so now we're gonna start on the filling part. Now you're gonna need 3 packages of softened cream cheese and they're 8-ounce packages. I just use the Philadelphia brand, but you can use whatever you'd like. And those are gonna go right into your mixer. And I have the paddle attachment on my mixer. And so if you don't have a stand mixer, that's totally fine. Just get out your regular mixer and you should be good to go. And then to that, you're going to add a couple of other ingredients. You're gonna add some sugar, some vanilla, some eggs, and some lemon juice, okay? So first off, we're gonna start with the sugar. And what you're gonna need is you're gonna need 1 cup of regular granulated sugar. And that's gonna go right into, you don't have to start the cream cheese ahead of time, okay? So that's just gonna go right in there. This is 1/4 of a cup. So I'm gonna need 4 of these puppies to put in there. And then you're gonna go ahead and start mixing. So I'll raise my bowl up here and just start it on the low speed just to kind of start it going just so it doesn't go everywhere. All right, so you always want to start stuff on the low speed first. All right, and then after that's kind of incorporated, I'm gonna just knock it up a couple of notches. So now what we're gonna do is we're gonna add the eggs. So I've got 3 fresh eggs that I'm going to add to my bowl. Just crack them right in. I always crack them separately just because if you happen to get a bad egg or you happen to get a shell in there, you have time to get it or dump it out before ruining the whole mixture. So definitely crack them in a separate dish. I always do that. And it just makes it so much easier if you do happen to get a bad egg, which once in a while we do, and or a shell, which I'm famous for. Sometimes I can crack them one hand, no problem at all, and then other times there's a bunch of shells in it, so I don't know, no rhyme or reason. Now what we're gonna do now is we're gonna add 1 egg at a time. Let that incorporate and then add the next egg and so forth. So we're just gonna add 1, let that mix up, and I'm gonna kind of increase the speed just a little bit. I'm like at half speed right about now. And this is really mixing in well. And then I'll reduce it back down to add in the next egg. And you can kind of see the mixture really start to take shape, starts getting that nice yellow color to it. It's gonna be so good. I love cheesecake. I did another episode on turtle cheesecake, so definitely look that one up. So you definitely want to, that one's a good one, yeah. So this one is a little bit different because it's got the apples in it and things like that. But yeah, that turtle cheesecake with the chocolate and the caramel, we're gonna use some of that homemade caramel. So this later on calls for some caramel. So you wanna flip over to my recipe of the homemade caramel and you wanna make some of that up ahead of time too. All right, so homemade caramel is the best. Don't go get the sauce at the store. Do the homemade stuff. It's so much easier and you don't have to fight the lines and waiting in the store, right? Okay. All right, so I'm gonna reduce that back down. And what I'm gonna add is I'm gonna add 1 teaspoon of vanilla, real vanilla, pure vanilla, okay? And that's gonna go right in there. And then last but not least, I'm going to squeeze the lemon. Now I've got my dish right here that had my egg in, okay? I always do it in a separate dish because if any seeds happen to fall out of my fingers, then they're not in your cheesecake. That would not be good. And most of the time, I usually get at least one seed in there. So I've got half a lemon, and I just gonna squeeze it. Now this has been sitting out on the counter, which that's kind of the key for lemons. Don't refrigerate them, keep them on the counter. They get so much juicier that way. Okay, there we go. Half a lemon. All right, now it's good. So we're just gonna increase the speed here. I got a little piece of cream cheese here that's driving me crazy. I gotta put that in there. Every tiny bit of cream cheese possible is what you need here. Now we're gonna increase the speed for just a little bit. We're gonna let that mix. All right. Now you don't need to let it mix a ton. A couple of minutes is fine. And then we're gonna go ahead and when the crust is done, we're gonna take it out and we're gonna combine all these ingredients. But for right now, we're gonna kind of let it set in the bowl. All right. So that looks pretty good. All right. So this is almost done. So this is number 2 part of our caramel apple cheesecake. So now we're on number 3, and that's the apple mixture. I can't wait. All right, so stay tuned. We'll be right back. Hey everybody, welcome back. We have gotten the cream cheese mixture all mixed up. I've got it in my mixing bowl over here. It's just setting here. The crust just came out of the oven. I've got it setting over here on the oven, just settling for just a little bit. We're gonna combine the other 2 parts of the apple caramel cheesecake mixture, and then we're gonna combine everything together and then bake it off, okay? So what I've done is I've gone ahead and peeled and cored 3 apples. Now you can use whatever variety of apples that you would like. These I think are Gala apples, but Granny Smiths work great too, especially with the caramel. You know, it's kind of like that fair caramel apple. If you use some Granny Smiths, and the tartness of that works really well too. I like Gala apples, and I had them on hand, so I wasn't gonna go to the store and buy anything different. So whatever you've got, just go ahead and use Macintosh or whatever. So I went ahead and I did 3, and I diced them up, and I just put some lemon juice, that other half of the lemon, I just squeezed over it just so that they wouldn't brown while we mixed up everything else. Okay, so to this mixture of the 3 apples, I'm going to add 2 tablespoons of sugar. And you're just gonna go ahead and sprinkle that right over the top of the apples. That was a 2 tablespoon measurement there. And then to that, I've got 1 teaspoon of ground nutmeg and 1 teaspoon of ground cinnamon. And that is going to go ahead and go right into the apple mixture as well. And I'm just gonna give this a quick toss just so that all of the apples get some of everything on them. The sugar, the nutmeg, and the cinnamon. Oh my goodness, that smells good. It smells like a giant apple pie right there. Oh my gosh, I love it. That's another thing is apple pie. Oh, I love apple pie. I'll have to make one on one of the shows just so that I can have one. Okay. So that is all mixed up nice and good. All right, so we're gonna set that off to the side. And now I'm going to make another crumb mixture that's gonna go on the top of the cheesecake, okay? So first off, we're gonna start with the flour, all right? And we are gonna have 1 cup of flour. I just love this recipe so much. It's got just, you know, it's not for the dieters, okay? This is your cheat day, dieters. When you get to have this is your cheat day. So just count on it, okay? Just have a cheat day. I don't make this hardly at all because if it's here, I'm gonna eat it. So I try to be good and not do too much of it, okay? So that's just kind of like an extra treat, all right? So then to the flour, I'm going to add 1 cup of packed brown sugar. Now, like I said, I've got the half a cup mixture in here, and this measuring cup packs very well. So I just come right up the sides, and it usually packs right in. I give it a little bit of press as I come out. So whatever you have for your mix at home or your jars or whatever, just make sure it's packed. I mean, it doesn't have to be you know, right down to the T, but just firmly pack it just so that you know that you've got a good solid cup of brown sugar in there. So 1 cup of flour and 1 cup of the packed brown sugar. Perfect. Okay. Now to this, we're gonna add 1/2 cup of quick oats. And so I just pre-measured that. So the regular quick oats, like Quaker or whatever you've got, that's gonna go right in there too. All right. So we've got 1 cup of sugar, 1 cup of brown sugar, 1 cup of flour, and 1/2 cup of quick oats. Okay, so that's kind of our dry ingredients right there. Then what we're gonna do is we're gonna go ahead and take 1 stick of butter, and I'm just gonna break this off into little pieces into the mixture. Doesn't have to be, you can cube it again if you want, like we did it originally. I'm just showing you kind of a different way. And even if when we were doing the crust earlier, if you just want to break it apart with your fingers, that's totally fine. Kind of like to get messy sometimes. Okay, there we are. Now what we're going to do is we're just going to mix this. Now again, I would not take my pastry cutter on this turnaround, okay? Just because of the amount of sugar that's in this. It's going to stick too much. So I would recommend a fork, a couple of forks, or your hands. I just personally like doing it with my fingers because then I can feel if it's all incorporated really well. All right. So now this is going to be the top mixture. Now I told you about the caramel. Okay. Now the caramel is not going to go on this before we bake it. It's actually going to go on right before you serve it. Yes. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to bake this off, and then tomorrow you're going to see me. I'll look a little bit different. So I promise I'll change my clothes, take a shower, you know, those kind of things. So tomorrow when we take it out of the fridge, I'm going to let it set overnight because we're not going to have it until dinner, lunchtime tomorrow, or dinner tomorrow. So we call it dinner here. We call it breakfast, dinner, supper. Very rarely do we call it lunch, but I guess that's just what us Mainers do, right? So some people are like, dinner? Isn't dinner at nighttime? Well, I guess it depends on where you live. So anyway, for lunch / dinner, we are going to have it for our dessert. So what I will do is tomorrow morning, I will cut it up and get it on a plate into some nice great pieces, and then I will drizzle it with caramel just so that you can see a couple of them done. And then what's really good is if you take your caramel out of the fridge, that homemade caramel that you made, now don't forget to tune in for that episode and make some caramel for this, okay? It's super easy, okay? Then I just heat it up in the microwave and then just drizzle it over the top. And oh my goodness, it's so good. I love it. Okay, that is mixed up really well. I'm gonna give my hands a quick wash, and then we're gonna assemble all of this together.